What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about 6 questions to ask the new guy in your life. But before I start, this video is sponsored by Aura. The more the world forces us to use the internet for everything, the more compromised our financial and our digital security is. Everybody requires you to put your credit card in online. Everybody requires you to share vital information about who you are and your identity to achieve basic, normal, everyday goals now. Credit card information is being stolen. Social security numbers are being used to make fake identities. People are losing their houses, their cars, going to jail behind identity thieves, utilizing information that they got on the internet or on their computer servers to steal everything under the sun. Or can defend you, your credit cards, your bank accounts, your social security number, your credit, and your identity. Aura not only protects, but it insures with $1 million worth of identity theft insurance protection. So if something does happen, you're still covered. Right now there's a free trial, so click the link below to try Aura for absolutely free. Now into this topic. With that said, a lot of the women I talk to don't know how to start the proper conversations. They don't know how to vet a guy. They don't know how to find the right things out about a man before they start to invest in him or decide they like him. Far too many of us have issues starting deep conversations or conversations with any substance at all when we're nervous or we're anxious or we're trying to get to know somebody who we're excited about. Unfortunately enough, that messes up the vetting process, and women don't often find the guy they thought they had found because they haven't gathered the proper information, and they only discover that they have a man who's unfit when they've already decided they liked him or started having feelings for them, which by that point is usually too late to start to defend yourself and set up healthy boundaries and back away without causing harm to yourself emotionally. So with that said, these are 6 questions that I'd like you to start incorporating into your early conversations when you first meet a guy to start the vetting process. And again, just like the other videos, the questions aren't necessarily about what he says, what his perfect answer is or isn't. The answers to these questions are just as much about what he's trying to get you to think about him, what he wants you to know, his self-awareness, and whether or not he's actually given significant thought to some of these concepts that if he's relationship ready and is looking to love a woman, he should have. Also, I just want to note, anytime a man tells you this is starting to feel like an interview and is reluctant to answer questions in relationship to you trying to discover who he is just because you're well prepared for the date, that's a red flag. A man should expect to answer some questions on the date. He should also expect to throw some back. A man who is vetting a woman with real curiosity about her because he wants to date and he's looking to love a woman has these same questions and will often throw these questions back because he has genuine curiosity. Or he doesn't just require surface level conversations or banter and flirting as his primary means of communication. Usually that's a red flag that he doesn't want anything serious. He's just trying to pin you to the bedpost. Even so, moving on. The first question I want you to incorporate into that first in-person date and interaction is, what do you need from a woman? And what is a woman's function in your life? Okay? Ask a man this. Again, if he's relationship ready, if he's truly looking for love, he's already thought about the place that a woman will hold in his heart, in his life, her function, how she can provide him an experience that he's looking for. He already knows what he wants from a woman. And again, the phrasing, what do you need from a woman? And what would be a woman's function in your life is strategic. If a man has an immediate aversion to the word need, that might be a problem. He may be playing power games or interested in power dynamics. People are so afraid to need their partner. A lot of times men of toxic ideologies oppose the idea or the phrasing of need a woman. They feel like that emasculates them to need anybody. So sometimes the aversion to the word need is a red flag that a person has either been hurt or is in some way or another reluctant to love. Of course, you don't need anybody romantically. It should be a given. But the necessity to state that sometimes is a red flag. So watch for tone, watch for body language when he says that if he does show an aversion to the word need. Because of course you don't need anybody. But that doesn't make a person's desire, including his, to feel needed any less valid or normal. Even so, as far as his answer, he needs to show depth that he understands what a woman's value is, a woman's worth, a woman's function is. That she's not just arm candy, a possession, an accomplishment, a servant, an employee, a secretary. The hope is that his answer displays the value that he places on her intelligence, her guidance, her friendship, her partnership, and the strength that she can add to the household. His awareness of a woman's worth is what you're looking for here. And or whether or not he's going to bullshit the answer. Again, that's why you want to have this conversation in person. You want to watch a person's body language. Measure their true response. Moving on, the second question that you want to ask the new guy that you're talking to is, what do you believe a man's job in a relationship is outside of the traditional provide and protect roles? What is a man's function in a relationship outside of those things that we always lean on? Again, if a man is relationship ready, if he has an intention to love a woman, he's already thought about these things. Think about it. When you've thought about having a relationship, having a partner, having a man, your daydreams go far and wide. You've thought about imaginary arguments. You've thought about imaginary circumstances that you had to get through and overcome with your partner. You've daydreamed about everything from having sex to solving conflicts together to paying bills and running errands. You've thought about the function that the relationship has. You've thought about everything that you want to do in your relationships to make your partner feel loved, to accept them, to support them. You know exactly what you want to give to the perfect person. When you have an intent to love and you don't have anybody to love, it's very hard not to think about that. It's very hard not to go to that place, to visualize yourself being great to somebody and exactly how you want to. Of course, people don't always do it when they get into relationships. And in general, people forget how lonely they were when they're not lonely anymore. But when you're approaching a relationship, you've always had these ideas about what you wanted to do and provide and be and how you wanted to affect your partner. So a man not having an answer, not having an idea or a clue, or having trouble answering with fluidity what a man's role is outside of provide and protect could potentially mean he hasn't thought about what he wants to do for a woman because he's only thinking about himself. He's looking for somebody to serve him, to do something for him, to support him. And he potentially has a lack of understanding about what a man is supposed to be providing a woman, again, outside of money and muscle. We hear so much about these ill-equipped men that wave their wallets around, but now every woman doesn't need a man's wallet because women are getting money too. So now they have to be emotionally available. They have to be supportive. They have to be emotionally present, emotionally intelligent, respectful, loyal, and all these other ideas that women always wanted but didn't get because it was a survival state. Well, now that women are surviving and they don't necessarily need a man to live, to make it to the next day, or to pay their bills, what is your function in a relationship, sir? What do you do for a woman? What do you hope to do or accomplish or be or affect in a woman's life? Again, just like you've thought about the woman you want to be for that perfect guy or the guy you used to crush on all the time and think about, man, if I was his, I would do this or so. I would do this. I would do that. I would be this way or that way. I would help him in this way. I would support him. You know exactly what you want to provide that man that you've always wanted but couldn't get, or the man that got away. The overwhelming majority of men who are looking for love know exactly what they want to do for a woman, have already thought about those same imaginary scenarios of living a day-to-day life, being great to her. Even if he's incapable of being great in those ways, he should at least be able to articulate those ideas are important and tell you what he believes his purpose is. Moving on, the next question that I want you to ask the new guy in your life to vet him, to gain some understanding about his understanding about relationships or his intention to be in a real relationship is, what effect do you want to have on the woman that you do fall in love with? And how have you affected the women that you have loved or encountered thus far? Again, this is about self-awareness, right? We've all had relationships go sour, but many of us can still talk to our exes if we need something. We can still call them if we need to network or we have a question, right? We could at least give them a like on Facebook and expect one back every now and then. Most of us had no intention to hurt or harm. And even when that was caused, it wasn't the totality of their experience with us. But then there are others of us who have left a trail of broken bodies and hearts behind us. A lot of these men have shitted on, destroyed, and toxified the women that they've encountered. A lot of them have done more harm than good. If you see avoidance around this question, if you see any kind of brevity or briefness in his answer, if he's trying to move through and skip over that answer, right? If you see him trying to be ambiguous and not really state what his actual effect on a person was, if now standing that person is more thankful or regretful for the experience that they've had with him, if you see any defensiveness at all, the likelihood is he's caused a lot of damage. If you see a complete avoidance, the likelihood is that he's probably caused a lot of damage. Most decent men are doing what they can not to be somebody's sad song. And if and when they are that, they can take responsibility for it. They're not afraid to talk about it, and they've learned from their mistakes and evolved. A lack of self-awareness, a lack of accountability, a lack of empathy causes a man to be avoiding around this question. If he doesn't have an ex that wants him back somewhere or a few, the likelihood is that you probably shouldn't want his ass either. Moving on. The next question is geared around letting a man vent or trying to trigger him into venting. You need to know what the hell is wrong with this man. You need to know what pisses him off and what has pissed him off in the past. Sometimes when people get into vents, they get really passionate and they kind of lose track of what they're supposed to be doing to say the right things and to be perfect and to build flawless perception. Sometimes if you get a person venting, they get a little bit carried away. And this is what we want, especially if he's toxic. So this question is, what's the worst part of dating and what frustrates you the most about it? You could even say, what frustrates you the most about women? The point here is to trigger him into speaking about the things that he doesn't like. Maybe the things he's experienced or the disappointments he's had. Maybe some of the things he disagrees with from the boys versus girls, men versus women perspective. A lot of times if you trigger a man to vent, his manosphere and his red pill and his misogynist ideology starts to come out. You need to know exactly where a man stands on love, relationship, a woman's function, her purpose, whether or not she's worth it or valuable at all. You need to figure out what his general belief system is, his relationship religion, so to speak. So getting him to vent gives you a window into that, especially if you just nod your head. Don't really show any disdain or any disapproval, right? Just actively listen, show you're engaged, and let that guy go. If you can get a man to vent his issues with women, with relationships, with dating in general, you're going to be so much farther ahead than other women who are refusing to ask questions at all, trying to be impressive to a man and only realizing that they got a shitbag or some misogynist or sexist after he starts to disrespect them. Now, of course, there are some people who are intelligent enough to bullshit this answer, but that's okay too. If a guy tries to give you the most perfect answer in the world, if you sense he's being disingenuous because you're looking him in his eyes, you're watching his body language, then now you know what he would have you believe about it. But for the most part, people will slip up. When you let a person vent, they will definitely slip up and tell you something that maybe they didn't want to know, because that passion overtakes them, especially if they are passionate about it. And people who watch that crap, that misogyny crap, they're really passionate about the stuff that they think. So it's hard for them to hide it once it's become their religion. You see their energy levels kick up. You'll see their animations start to increase. Immediately, you see a different version of them, a more active, a more energetic version of them when they're talking about the things they don't like. Give a man space to vent. Let him go. Don't show disapproval. Don't argue. Don't debate. Don't even let him know what you think. Just actively listen and nod your head. This isn't about your opinion at this point. This is about discovering what his opinion is. Moving on. The last and final question that I'd like you to consider asking the new guy that you're talking to, especially on your first date, is how could the women that you have dated have done better to secure a relationship that didn't? And how could the women that you've had relationships with done better to maintain those and keep you? Again, this is a question about self-awareness, about perspective. This is a question that signals what he's learned about himself and also his relationships. This is a question that also reveals whether or not he's even giving women a proper opportunity, the proper time, the proper level of grace. If he's loving women enough to give them space to make mistakes, if he's looking to self-sabotage, if he's looking to walk away, if he's waiting for excuses to abandon women after he gets what he wants. How could the women you've dated done better to secure relationships that didn't? And how could the women who have had relationships done better to maintain them and keep you? This is another opportunity for him to vent about what has went wrong, who has hurt him, what was done to him, what he's endured, what he's tired of, what he's sick of. His self-awareness and accountability is also on display here. He should be able to tell you what a woman needs to do or what a woman needs to be, so to speak, for him to decide to love her. He should be able to tell you why the women he didn't choose, who thought they had a chance, ultimately didn't make the cut. He should be able to tell you what could have been done better to keep him engaged and to keep him in love or to keep him interested in pursuing love with the woman who almost got there or who started a relationship with him but didn't quite make it, right? We need to know exactly what those complaints are. Some of them are valid. Men are having a difficult time finding women. It is just true. It is what it is. I know y'all don't like to think about it. I know y'all like to think because you're women that you're just perfect and every woman is getting shat on by men. That is not the case. It is hard out here to find a woman that is, going to match up with a guy, a woman that is loyal, a woman that is not looking to come up off a man, a woman who keeps herself together, a woman who doesn't have an attitude problem, communication issues. She's not already broken in some way. She's unhealed. Like women are as screwed up as men. Okay. So we need to know what his experience has been. How has he been toxified? How has he been damaged? How is he unhealed? And also, we need to get him venting, speaking passionately about what's happened to him, what he doesn't like, so he can reveal himself to you. Again, you might see a more impassioned, more fervent, more animated version of him. You want that. Don't get in the way. Don't show any disdain or disapproval. Don't argue or debate. Just listen, nod, shake your head, practice active listening. Take mental notes, take physical notes if you need to when you get home, and figure out if this man is fit for the type of love that you're hoping to achieve. All right? That's all I got for now. Follow me at Kefik24 on Instagram. Don't forget to check out today's sponsor. I'll get with y'all later.